Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lisa Villarreal, and I am the Vice Chair of the Coalition for Community Schools, and I'm here to proudly announce that we have a movement. Over 1,400 people from across 36 states and more than 100 communities are registered for this event the next 3 days. It's the largest in the history of the Coalition for Community Schools and reflects our growing movement. Nearly 600 people from the great state of California and more than 100 people from Tulsa are showing us, without any debate, how community schools cut across partisan lines, cut across red and blue, and get to the heart of what it really means to bring communities and schools together. And we have new communities that have been added to our cause. We have folks from Toledo, Ohio, from Bozeman, Montana. Go Bozeman. From Oshkosh, Wisconsin, from Austin, Texas, among others, and many who have been growing community schools for over a decade. I'd like at this moment to thank the members of the Coalition for Community Schools Steering Committee, and I'd like for them to stand. Thank you. You'll find the names of our steering committee in your program booklet. And I'd also like to recognize the chair of the Coalition for Community Schools, who cannot be with us this week, but is here in heart and spirit, and that is Dr. Ira Harkavy from the University of Pennsylvania. So give it up for Ira. At this time, I'd like to bring up my conference co-chair, who needs no introduction. Many of you had the pleasure of spending the afternoon with her, Jane Quinn, the Vice President of the Children's Aid Society. Jane, come on up. Colleague, mentor, dear friend, who's going to continue to share more words about the coalition and our tributes.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Wow, this is what 1,400 people look like, huh? This is really so exciting. And after all that energy from our young people, I have a responsibility tonight that is kind of sad, but also kind of a happy occasion, and that is to pay tribute as a movement to Joy Dreyfus. Give it up for Joy, that's right. So as many of you know, Joy, I don't know what the words are. You know, some of us call her the guru. Some of us call her the godmother. Some of us call her the goddess of community schools. And Joy was very ill, and she died on March 17th, which to a person of Irish heritage like myself is a very meaningful day. So I know she's up there with St. Patrick and a few other people. So we're going to pay tribute to Joy tonight, and I wanted to start by asking, if you knew Joy Dreyfus, would you please stand up? If you knew her personally, if you met her, if she ever came to your community to speak about community schools. Oh, great. So stay standing, and if you were influenced by her writings or her speaking, would you please stand up? So more and more people, I think a lot of us were, even people who didn't know her, were influenced by her thinking. So tonight, so you can sit down. You're going to be back up on your feet a little later, but because we're going to pay a tribute to Joy. But I wanted to recognize Joy's immeasurable contributions to our field. I think one of the landmark studies was her 1994 book called Full Service Schools. And I know that many of us were really very influenced by her writing and by her speaking and by her thinking. Tonight we have a video that was put together by the coalition and our friends in Kansas City, and what we're going to hear is Joy's own words. She was interviewed in 2008 by one of her colleagues in Boston. So we're going to see a wonderful video that is pictures of the movement across the country with Joy speaking to all of us about what we should be thinking about. And her words from 2008 were, as always, prescient, not precious, but prescient and wise. And I think they speak to us in 2012. So let's hear from Joy and take a look at this video. Thank you.
This movement is particularly interesting because it consists of sort of bottom-up movements and top-down movements. Thus far, I would say bottom-up has been the most important organizing principle, namely that somebody in some community found this idea and created even one school. And it might have been a principal of school. It was very often somebody outside of the school. And I would say that early years of this movement came almost more from outside of the education system than within the education system. As my friends here have heard me say so often, the schools can't do it alone. And I think we've come to a crisis situation in the country. And therefore, we have to attack it in every way we can. And community schools seems to me to be a response that put together all the pieces that we know how to do in some sort of organized way. What seems to be lacking in so many communities is this sense of working together, and community schools are the best example I can think of at these times for getting people to work together and do their best. I think in recent years the coalition has been particularly effective in making the case and helping us move toward legislation, and we have a lot to celebrate now, even with our first little $5 million. It's the first time that I think full-service community schools has appeared in official Department of Education language. And I don't think that could have happened without the coalition sticking with it from beginning to middle. I wouldn't say end, because this is just the beginning again.
I had to make sure I saw that video before you guys did so I wouldn't burst into tears when Joy appeared at the very last picture. That is a picture from the archives at the Children's Aid Society. We gave Joy our highest award in, I think, the year 2001, and so that picture was from an award ceremony at the Children's Aid Society. I feel like channeling Ira right now because he couldn't be with us at this conference, but I know that if he were here, he would remind us that we stand on tall shoulders. We stand on the shoulders of John Dewey, who wrote a wonderful monograph in 1902 called Schools as Social Centers. We should have listened to him, right? And Ira would remind us that John Dewey became friendly with Jane Addams, the founder of the settlement house movement in this country. And Ira says that John Dewey did his best work when he was connected with Jane Addams because she kept his philosophical feet on the ground in the world of practice. So if we had listened to our progressive era friends, you know, I read an article about the progressive era one time, and they talked about that period of time being a reform riot. And I was like, yeah, let's go there, you know? That is what we really need in this country. But when we think about standing on tall shoulders, we are also standing on the tall shoulders of Joy Dreyfus. And I think she will go down in history as in that lineage of John Dewey and Jane Addams. And so I want us all to stand. Come on, work with me. I want us all to stand because I know that Joy is somewhere in the universe with John Dewey and Jane Addams and some of the other great reform leaders. And I want you all to say, thank you, Joy. Thank you, Joy. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, the tribute to Joy reminds many of us perhaps, that many of our great leaders do not necessarily get to see and pick the fruit of their lifetime of labors during their lifetime. And with Joy, her passing was really on the cusp of a movement that is beyond remarkable. A movement that has gone forward without a mandate and without a consistent stream of money, but a moral imperative to do the right thing. So, yeah. That's why we're here, right? So we have another partner from Washington, D.C. joining us tonight, who also could not make it. And it is the Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan. And I think we have a video clip ready to roll. Arne? Oops.
At
Need
the
some sound.
2012 Community Schools National Forum. And I'm really sorry I couldn't be there with you in person. Community schools are a critically important part of the education reform movement. By integrating academics, health, and community engagement, community schools are doing more than just improving student achievement. They are transforming communities and turning around neighborhoods as well. When I was CEO of the Chicago Public Schools, the city became the national leader in large-scale adoption of community schools. And I saw firsthand every day how community schools help to lift neighborhoods up, providing essential services and a safe place where the community could come together for enrichment. These schools made a commitment to educating the whole person from birth through to adulthood. They offered opportunities for students and their parents outside of regular school hours. And by the time I left, Chicago had more than 150 community schools, the most in the nation. President Obama and I both believe that our schools must offer a cradle-to-career education. It starts with early learning programs and continues with great schools that support students with the help they need to be successful academically. Through our Promise Neighborhoods grants, dozens of community-based organizations are creating high-quality wraparound services and strong neighborhood schools modeled after the amazing work in the Harlem Children's Zone. The community schools movement has done extraordinary work in driving education reform, and I would encourage you to continue engaging and improving communities through education. You are a hugely important part of this movement. Schools across the country are looking to your model to better serve their students and their families. I thank you again for your hard work, for your leadership. I hope you continue to find ways to improve education in many of our nation's disadvantaged communities.
So just another word about this moral imperative. I say this not taking the term lightly at all. And I say it because there was no way that this nation could assemble over 1,400 people in the city of San Francisco, people who had to get on a plane, travel a whole day, rent a hotel, register, with such little support in terms of a global mandate, a federal mandate. We have our federal full-service community schools legislation. We have our Promise Neighborhoods. We have our Choice Neighborhoods, but you know the money is few and far between. Without a consistent stream of funding, and yet you're here. You're here. And so my sense is that this moral imperative is because we share a core of beliefs that go beyond personality, that go beyond race, that go beyond ethnicity, that go beyond geography, that go beyond family of culture. And it's summed up in these values. And check me if I'm talking about what you're talking about. We believe that every child has a right to arrive to school every day safe, free from hunger, fear, and pain. Ready to learn at every grade level, particularly in the benchmark grades, kindergarten, 3rd grade, 6th grade, 9th grade, high school graduation. And that child should arrive with a level of self-confidence, trust, having slept in a warm and nurturing home, and ready to face a welcoming teacher who will engage that child and allow curiosity and imagination to grow so that child will graduate ready for college, ready for work, and ready to become a confident, caring, contributing member of this global society. Do you believe that? Those are the values that we hold as proponents of community schools. That's why we have come together, and you will hear about this moral imperative for the next 4 days. But right now, I would like to welcome a man for whom I could not hold greater respect. The director of the Coalition for Community Schools and the president of the Institute for Educational Leadership, my friend and my mentor, Marty Blank.
So welcome to San Francisco. We've been at this work for 15 years. I suppose we should have had a 15th year anniversary. But the work is just growing, so we keep focused on what it is we're trying to do for young people. As Lisa so eloquently said, and as Joy Dreyfus reminds us, this is really our work, this is our responsibility, this is our shared vision, this is our purpose. And no matter what happens, one of the unique things about this work is we keep going because local communities want to take responsibility for the kids and want to make sure that they all succeed. So I'm thrilled to be able to be part of this enterprise. I want to thank Mamea Mea and Heather Naviaski and all of our team. I know you all got to know them in various ways as we got to this moment, and you will continue to count on them as I do every day. And Ruben Jacobson and Ryan Fox, who've worked so hard on our scaling up framework that really is the focus of this event. Because we believe we know how to do this. It's the challenge is that all of us are different as human beings, and we've got to figure out how to work together. We've got to cross these boundaries and deal with our personalities and deal with our politics. But to make this work, we need a clear understanding of what the picture is we're trying to create. So we've been working hard at the Coalition to come up with a way of talking about this. And we think we've got it. So if I could get my friends to put up this first graphic, that would help me. So how many people in this room have never used a telephone that looks like that? Yeah. Right? Now I remember Aspinwall, and of course I could also ask, how many people remember their first phone number? Mine was Aspinwall 75083, and you dialed that number, right? And then you went to those cradle phones and all that, and now I bet that many of the people in this room have this thing, right? So think about that as an old-fashioned school that's an analog binary system, and it's old school. Community schools are smart schools, just like the smartphones you have right here. And in that community school, if you're a student, or you're a parent, or you're a community resident, or even if you're a mayor or a school board member or a superintendent, you can push the app and you can find health and social supports. You can push the button and find engaged instruction and expanded learning opportunities and youth development and college and career opportunities and early childhood and family engagement. All of that is what we are trying to create in a community school. And we think that community schools are the smart schools of the 21st century. And that we are smarter than other people who have a narrow vision of what it is that it takes to educate America's children. And I want to tell you that we're making progress here, folks, because some of you may have seen the comments by the Teacher of the Year, Rebecca Milwaukee. She's from Burbank, California. It's a school that has only 43% free and reduced price lunch, right? And I know that some of you are working in schools with 80 and 90%. And so here's what she says. We face so many barriers to student success that I didn't create and are beyond my control. I can't control whether my students eat breakfast, have a place to sleep at night, whether they have access to technology. I can do everything I can when they step into my classroom to try to level the playing field, but one person alone just can't do it all, and that's pretty overwhelming. And that's why Rebecca Milwaukee needs to learn about community schools. And we need to educate her and everyone. Someone in the coordinators meeting today said, we are all politicians for community schools, right? Do you talk about them in your church, in your mosque, in your synagogue? Do you talk about them at your gym and in your neighborhood group? Do you tell them that the community school is the smart school of the 21st century? So I hope that this conference will make all of us even smarter, even more capable, even more unified in our common purpose to get all of our young people to succeed and to build strong families and healthier communities. And I thank you for being here, and I thank you for what you do every day. And I think if I've got my script right, which I often miss, that we're going to have some dinner, and then we're going to have some young people talk to us some more about their lives, their work, and why community schools are so important to them. Thank you all very much.
Let me tell you a little bit about Youth Speaks. Founded in 1996 in San Francisco, Youth Speaks is the leading nonprofit presenter of spoken word, performance, education, and youth development programs, perhaps in the entire country. They offer literary arts education programs during the school day, during after-school hours, on weekends, on evenings, and Youth Speaks works with 45,000 teens per year in the Bay Area alone, as well as helping create partner programs in 47 cities across the United States. Here to introduce his crew, I would like to bring up Brandon Santiago, currently a student at San Francisco State. Brandon, come on up and bring your crew.
How you guys doing? You guys all right? Beautiful. I'm going to move the microphone over this way, so hold on for 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt. For those of you guys who are enjoying your tiramisu, I apologize, but I'm going to share some poems with you. So first and foremost, I just appreciate you guys allowing us to be a part of this conference. Thank you guys very much. I work with an organization, as she said, called Youth Speaks, and Youth Speaks focuses on literary arts and spoken word as a tool to combat illiteracy. And what that means is we go into high schools. We've been in almost every single high school in the Bay Area, and we allow young people to empower themselves, and we give them a safe platform and a safe space for them to tell their story. And of course, we do our best to listen. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce a couple of amazing young people today. One of them is a student. The other one is an actor, a playwright, and an artist. And I hope you guys will enjoy and listen to their poems, but I want to encourage you guys. We do not want you to be silent. If you guys are inspired or moved by something that was said on the stage, I encourage you to snap, clap. You can yell hallelujah, whatever you do, whatever floats your boat. But we encourage you guys to be active listeners during our performances. So once again, thank you guys so much for having us. And without further ado, this young man, by way of Texas, is an amazing artist, playwright, and MC. Please clap it up for my friend and my brother, Mr. Michael Turner. Make some noise for Michael Turner.
Hello. Okay. Very honored to be here. Very serious now that I am here. I came today to speak about education, the perpetuating of ideologies, methodologies. So that's what we're doing here. It's what it's all about. So if we are at any discomfort with the product, then we must change the ideology and the methodology. Simply. Here stands a tree. It roots in soil fertilized by blood. Its bark broken like branches of government. Its branches stretched like career-ending injuries. In spite of where the seed comes from, this tree still bears fruit. The fruit from this tree hang strange like fatigue. Like idle teens, they just hang. Strange fruit, never picked, just hanging. Okay. So what happens to a tree that bears fruit never picked? What happens to the fruit? A tree that doesn't bear fruit is chopped and used accordingly. I've seen other such trees turn to hanging posts. The fruit is pulled by gravity in a downward spiral. Life makes it fall. Both tree and fruit left alone to pile like dead bodies. We seeds uproot through piles of dead bodies on our streets. In Houston, Texas, 3rd Ward, a legacy of tears make up our dirt roads, and a history of fears make up the paved ones. Hot, boiling bullets. Bullets flying to and fro, criminal and cops. Most days, the 3rd Ward seems more like a third world in a civil war with America funding both sides. I've called this home. And here I met a man named Bobo. He had the sweetest grandmother. I went over his house one day and she was cooking dinner. She'd call to dinner like, "Dinner time. Y'all, it's dinner time." You see, Bobo. I named him Bobo. Can you believe that? He's so cute with his little lollipop head. I feed him all the time, but I don't really know where it goes, you know. But yeah, so his mama come in from the hospital with some silly name picked out for the poor baby. Grandma ain't even bother learning it. You know, because that's my grandbaby, and I ain't got to call him what his mama want to call him. I call him what I want to call him. You know, I used to call him Pop Snooky. But his mother really didn't like that one, and I didn't like it too much, to be honest. So I calls him Bobo, and his mother didn't take kindly to that fact. But before she died, she came around to calling him Bobo herself every now and again. And his brothers and his sisters called him that. And his friends called him that too. Yes, they sure did. We all called him Bobo. Ooh, yo, one time, it was like dinner time, and Grandmommy yelled, "Dinner time," like she always do. And we all run into the kitchen and grab a plate and get as much food as we can because there's like 1 million of us and we can't never get enough to eat. Shit's not funny. It's 9 kids in a house. We run to the kitchen to get a dinner plate, grab as much food as we can for ourselves. Cause it's like 1 million of us, yo. And it ain't enough to eat. Shit's not funny. And then little Brianna come to the dinner table talking about, "I didn't get no food." But I was laughing and shit, cause I knew why she didn't get no food, you know? Cause she's a girl. And I was laughing and shit. And then Bobo smacked me in the back of my head. And he was like, "Yo, you get up and you give her some of your food, or I'm gonna take your food and give it all to her. You choose." And then I was like, "Yo, she can have the plate, because sharing plates is gay anyway." April 2009, this man, Bobo, was shot twice in his heart. Outside a Houston nightclub, bullets ring like a national anthem. Bombs bursting in air gives proof through the night that this flag is still here. A flag of systems willing to trade the individual's life for $1. A flagpole buried so deep in the immune system of our society to the point I am sick and tired of the same old poor black boy story too. I am. But I recognize and I remember that every black boy, every brown boy, every red boy, every yellow boy, every white boy, every black girl, every brown girl, every red girl, every yellow girl, every white girl has a story too. So in this education, you must take that into consideration. I'm a black boy. What do you do when you go to your basketball court and there are no rims? Just prostitutes exchanging greenbacks for skin. What do you do? What do you do when there is no fortune in building schools, but a fortune in building coffins? What do you do when real estate means cemetery space? How can we expect an untended garden to grow? It will suffocate. And go ahead and blame me for being so hopeful, but I can't help but to think if Bobo had more time, if he had more water, if he had a little more sun and a lot more space, he could grow into a tree of knowledge, steadfast, with roots rupturing the concrete, branches breaking through barbed wire, growing unrestrained past this third ward, past these ghettos, so we can finally start to fall far from the tree.
my name's April. I don't want to preach too much, but I just like to thank everyone for coming out. Just the fact that we are all educators here, and I just hope at the end of the day that we all have learned something to improve upon in our skill wherever we are at. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being a part of all this. I'm going to do a poem. So I walked into my counselor's office, and he said, "Okay, April, what college are we looking for?" And I told him, BYU Hawaii, to which he replied, "Well, BYU, it's kind of hard to get into. Let's try for something a little more realistic." I hate it when people don't believe in me. Not only will I get into the college I want, but when I get your child on my roster, I'm gonna look at her dead in the face and say, "Come on, be more realistic. You're better than that. Dream bigger, live louder, play harder, laugh longer, read more." I wanted New York Columbia, but my English professor said I wouldn't be up to the caliber, so I didn't even apply. I convinced myself, hey, I wouldn't like the snow anyways, and I aced his class. I mentored little girls once a week, and a 9-year-old, and I asked them, "What do you want to be when you get older?" And a 9-year-old shot her hand in the air and said, "I want to be a doctor at St. Jude." Not a clue as to how costly or time-consuming this little dream would be. But as a future educator, it is not my place to break souls. It is my only responsibility. It is my only responsibility to help pave a road that leads to their favorite daydream, not erase ambitions. So the next time you have a little bit of doubt in your heart, by all means, send them to me. I don't have my master's, my bachelor's, or even a degree, but I bet I could do a way better job than you. Passion cannot be taught through text. Dedication and drive are not found in lectures or given in major requirements. There are no labels, no jocks, suck-ups, or nerds. There is only student, potential, future, opportunity. Every child deserves to hope. They do not need you killing their dream before they ever got a chance to wish it into existence. So I was just wondering, how long did it take for you to stop seeing lives and start seeing categories? 2 years? Maybe 5? Were you still studying for your CBEST when kids and teens transformed into liabilities? How long before names became numbers? Scores and seats wearing human masks, pay raises, and empty desks. Did you ever think that just because you can't bring out their potential, they still have a future? Maybe they're not a lost cause. Maybe you're not as good of a teacher as you thought. Everyone wants to sit and discuss how lost our youth is, with nobody teaching us what to do. How will they know to shine if we never teach them to shoot for the stars? What it feels to rise if we never lift them when they fall? The future will give us their best if and when we give them ours. How must we expect them to know if we are so unwilling to teach them how? Thank you so much.
So before we close off, I just want to say, if you guys are interested in Youth Speaks, please check out youthspeaks.org. We actually have a brand new website up and running. We would love to get in contact with you guys if you guys are educators, if you guys work at schools. We would love to be a part of the things you guys have going in your community as well. With that being said, I'm going to share a kind of a story about my life. I grew up in San Francisco for most of my life and spent most of my schooling in the San Francisco Public School, which is always a fun thing to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and share a poem with you. This poem was also in honor of the Brown versus the Board of Education. So here it goes. I was kicked out of my first high school the day before class. That's a true story, and that's not that funny. No, for real. And nowadays, I wake up to the soft sound of a nostalgic regret playing over my morning prayers. Dear God, thank you for this day and direct my path. working for a youth development organization, I spend most of my time telling young folks to stay in school. The irony feels like a swift punch to my ego every time I catch myself giving that typical, "I've made those mistakes already" speech. So I learned to disguise them with phrases like, "Yo, homie, school will get you paid," or "all the cuties go to college." He replies with a youthful pessimism. I say, "Look, just don't follow in my footsteps. Learn from the path I've already taken and create your own." I'm reminded of where I come from when I walk into most high schools, faced with that unholy deja vu of students drifting like nomads between classrooms. Hallways become a permanent purgatory for failures. But I'm starting to learn there's a fine line between ignorant and bred to be uneducated, and some might call that line segregated, a filthy word to a public school principal and the Board of Education, especially in a city known for progression, so pardon me for a moment while I digress. See, I can't help but notice that classrooms look more like the Red Sea, split in half by Moses' staff, separating students by more than color, but it's funny how brown folks still find their way to the back. And when test scores reflect budget cuts, teachers play hot potato with the kids that can't read, send them to the basement. Special education is the new segregation, while standardized tests are the sequel to separate but equal. But test scores can only reflect accessibility to information. We can't get the answer right if we don't understand the question, so every day I pray for wisdom. While SATs play God, separating saint from sinner, student from statistic, private from public, and in a city as diverse as San Francisco, people of color make up 50% of the population and 90% of the public schools. It's no coincidence, it's beautifully deliberate. This state invests $230,000 for every juvenile in prison, as opposed to $8,000 for a student in the Oakland public schools. In other words, they invest more when we fail, so they won't send us to study hall, they'd rather send us to jail, fire our teachers and replace them with correctional officers, turn our public schools into play penitentiaries, prepare a third of our entire generation to be incarcerated, and tell you there is no such thing as segregation. But young man, believe me when I say you will always be Brown versus the Board of Education. And I can't help but see myself in you. See, I was bred to be a worker too, taught to fill out a job application before I ever learned to apply for college. My counselor suggested I stick with something simple, told me garbage men get great benefits, so I threw away my education. High school dropout, twice removed, stuck at a community college, a place where more often than not, dreams of higher education go to die, and classes fill up faster than emergency rooms, so students drop like flies. And there I was in one more class, I didn't need trying to stop flirting with these illusions of grandeur. I'm thinking if junior college is hell, well, heaven must be something like Stanford, so every day I pray to be forgiven. Because sometimes I feel like brown skin is the cardinal sin. And sometimes I feel like Moses wandering through an ocean of dust, searching for my promised land. Well, my people pray to idols, replacing golden calves for golden bears, and I ain't got the heart to tell them that Berkeley is only public to folks who had a private education. And I wonder if at this moment you can smell the hypocrisy on my breath when I say just do your best, that's all that counts. Knowing I'm about to graduate from a college that will probably reject you, submit my life story in 3 pages or less and let them call it my personal statement. Let them test me until I become standard in hopes that one day they can see me as some kind of equal. But I remind myself I'm doing it for him, so that no institution, whether it's public school or prison, will ever validate who we are. So nowadays I go to sleep to the uneasy sound of an apprehensive retribution rising over my evening prayers. Dear God, let us never forget that we are all sacred and equal. Thank you, guys.
Let's give it up for Brandon, April, and Michael. Come on up here. Come on. 2 words spoken tonight. Take a bow. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. May your words live in us today, tonight, tomorrow, and as we continue. So we have another treat for you, a very, very special treat. We have tonight the Bay Area Urban Debate League, and we have an abbreviated debate discussing the topic of community schools should partner with large corporations to increase their resources. So I would like to introduce to you, as they come up, the Bay Area Urban Debate League, which takes youth voice and the excitement of competitive team sports to inspire students to advocate their opinions and master the most complicated of policy issues. With the help of hundreds of volunteers and sponsors, the League helps underserved youth develop into trained, powerful advocates and skilled critical thinkers, ready to graduate from high school and college and take on the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the crew from the Bay Area Urban Debate League, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be introducing you in order, but when I call your name, please raise your hand. First of all, Elisa Saavedra. Elisa, welcome. Next to Elisa, we have Precious Brazil. Let me back up for a moment. Elisa is a junior at Skyline High School, Oakland. Precious Brazil is a freshman at Castlemont High School, Oakland. Zakia Moore, a freshman at Skyline High School, Oakland. And last but not least, Christopher Marquez, a junior at Skyline High School, Oakland. And their coach, who will introduce them now. Take it away.
As I introduce, I'm going to steal this microphone back for the podium. I apologize. Thank you so much for coming out tonight and for all you do for youth across our nation. The Bay Area Urban Debate League started in 2008, and these young people have been debating, in some cases for less than 1 year, the freshmen among us, in some cases for 2 years. And I would love to invite you to celebrate them. I'll wait for the round of applause just for a moment, because these young people, in addition to being in the thick of finals, also just competed in our league championships last weekend. So they have spent this past weekend with more than 15 hours of actual debating action. That is not 15 hours of preparation. It is actually arguing against folks on the tail end of weeks of preparation. So please do give them a round of applause straight off the bat. I will be extraordinarily brief because this is about their voice, not mine. But I appreciate you for coming out and listening to what they have to say. They've been doing a lot of research. They will, of course, be nervous. This is one of the larger audiences that most of them have spoken to. I want to tell you about a particular part of this, which is that you have to be engaged not only as listeners, but also as kind of creative participants in this conversation. And what that means is, if you look at the program, you will see that there is an audience questions section. And what this means is you should really, as you listen to what they have to say, think of a question or two that you might use to engage them and help inspire them and add some detail to what they have told us tonight. That's going to come up. I'm going to remind you of it one more time, but my hope is that you will be thoughtful and you will come up and engage these folks to this mic. I'll be here. I'll be right there waving my hands to you, so hopefully you will get it on. Without further ado, the wonderful young people of the Bay Area Urban Debate League, please give them a round of applause.
Man, this is like seriously cool. I'm the projector.
That's crazy.
It's like amazing. All right, let's start now. Hello and good evening. My name is Christopher Marquez, and this is my partner, Zakia Moore. I am currently a junior at Skyline High, in Oakland and a current member of the Leading with Debate Fellowship. What is a community school? A community school invests itself in a community and gathers resources to serve their community. And that's why community schools should create corporate partnerships to start out with. At this moment, Oakland Unified School District will need to trim just under $30 million from their budget for the next school year. Superintendent Smith believes that the coming years will require additional cuts of this magnitude. Current projections show that Oakland Unified School District will need to downsize its budget by roughly $100 million over the next 3 years. Another example is the Los Angeles Unified School District has just cut $1.5 billion from its budget, and 1,000 employees lost their jobs. And the government started looking for funding elsewhere. Corporations should offer school partnerships to help fund for community schools. This could create access to resources that will be available to students, such as textbooks, computers, and tutors, which will benefit these scholars. Teachers will also have an advanced teaching curriculum by having more modern technology, such as projectors and computers. There could be a higher graduation rate and a higher percentage of high school kids making it to college. Next, corporations may also gain more media attention. If for any reason there's a corporation or business that is financially in trouble, such a partnership could boost their popularity and save them from bankruptcy, yet help with educating the youth. Corporate partnerships currently exist as we speak. My high school has been divided into 2 academies, which are career paths a youth decides to follow. So far, our Green Academy has 4 partnerships: Chabot Space and Science Center, Engineering and Technology Industry Council, Energy Biosciences Institute, and the Earth Team. The Green Academy has received lab equipment, a class set of laptops, professional lectures from scientists, and have offered a chance for science scholars to use their labs for special occasions. Not only that, but they also offer internships. One teacher stated, "Partnerships are a good thing to have. Not only do they help by the lack of funding, but they also open the eyes to students to real-life situations and careers." Community schools should reach out to corporations to partner with for the sake of their children. It is a win-win situation on both sides. Elizabeth P. Dickey and William L. Bainbridge state, whatever they are called and however they are structured, major objectives are the same: increase student skill achievement, dropout prevention, and enhance resources for the schools. I personally think that is a very good idea, and our chances of achievement are greater by the gains of funding and resources. This plan is the best way to solve for the lack of resources from budget cuts. Thank you, and I am now open for questions.
Okay, so will everyone in the schools that receive funding be eligible to benefit from the money and resources?
Everyone is
Will every student in that school
eligible.
What?
Ask again, sorry.
Will every student, administrator, and everyone in that school that gets a partnership benefit from the resources and funding?
Every school that gets a partnership will benefit.
But not the school, individuals. Will they benefit?
The students will get the resources, so yes.
The administration as well?
Administration, no. It's about the kids, not the administration.
Are they a part of the school?
The administration is teaching.
Are administration a part of the school, yes or no?
They run the school.
Okay. Is every single school guaranteed a partnership?
Depending on how many corporations are willing to partner.
So you're saying that if there's, so if there's 30 schools and there's 30 corporations, you're saying that every corporation will want to just give that away, give like money and funding and resources? So every school is 100% guaranteed in America, yes or no?
So you're saying, pretty much you're saying that 100% guaranteed chance that everyone's gonna get a partnership?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
So everyone will have one?
Yes.
Okay. Who will control the new funds?
The community school.
So the schools themselves, so after the schools get the funding and resources, the partnership is cut?
No.
Okay. Is a community school intertwined in the community?
Yes.
So if the community schools are getting these like funding and resources from corporations, wouldn't it be like, well, the community school kind of turned into a corporation school?
No.
Why?
Because we're helping and educating the youth. We're not worrying about advertising or nothing like that. The youth come first.
Excuse me. Okay, never mind, that's time.
You're done. Walk away.
Sit down. Not height applicable?
Okay, so hi, my name is Precious Brazil. I attend Castlemont High School in Oakland, California, and I'm currently a freshman. I will be on the negative side of this debate, and one of our questions is, what is a community school? A community school is, well, a community school should be held accountable by the community. Like, they should have to deal with community. The affirmative argues that partnering with large corporations is a good thing because they provide resources and funding, but who's to say that the schools will get equal funding? What my opponents fail to see is that a majority of the corporations will distribute these funds and resources unequally. Also, most business owners will only give back to schools they attended and not schools that really need it. So my question is, what happens to the schools that need but don't get these resources? And who really does benefit from these resources within the school? One reason that this plan should not happen is because students and families will begin to start being exploited. The focus will be no longer on students and their academics, but corporations will begin to run education within the schools. Schools should be a non-commercial. Give kids a break, says Jacobson from the Community of Science for the Public Interest, meaning that corporations will incorporate their business into schools instead of education. Corporations will be more interested in having their names and logos on everything that the school does. For instance, hallways and book covers and buses are increasingly being used as advertising vehicles to sell stuff to kids. For example, clothing corporations will begin to implement their logos into school uniforms just to give the schools resources. For example, every time a school gets sponsors with a sports team, if you look at their jerseys, whatever partnership that they gain has their logos on their jerseys. So that alone is like a partnership saying that they'll only give you money if you do the X, Y, and Z. Also, food corporations will be more interested in making money off of students and their bad health instead of educating them about the harmful things that their products can actually do. High schools have become marketing arms of soft drink companies. With or without exclusive contracts, soft companies are peddling junk food to kids, Jacobson said. The schools love the money, but essentially the deal is that schools are taxing kids to pay for the things that the soft drink profits buy. Imagine lunchtime with a bunch of food courts, and once lunch is over, you have the different vending machines, and at series of events, you have these large food corporations that are sending workers and volunteers out to these schools selling their food products. Instead of helping them, they're actually destroying and harming their body. Therefore, students will be getting bad health because corporations don't care about the students nor their education. They just want to benefit in their own way, which is getting the corporations money. We don't need ExxonMobil teaching our kids about pollution and global warming. We don't need Coca-Cola trying to teach our students about nutrition. This is something that just like, regardless, you can't like Coca-Cola and these junk food corporations cannot teach your child about nutrition. So with all of this being said, I encourage you not to be sold into the dream that partnering with these large corporations will benefit our children. I am open to cross-ex.
All right, say if we did not do this plan, what will happen with the budget cuts? Will they still exist?
Budget cuts will exist even if you do this plan.
How?
Because of the fact that, like I said, every corporation is not guaranteed to partner with a school, so therefore there's still some schools that's being left behind because they're not getting these partnerships.
All right, you talked about how corporations will use logos and somehow manipulate the youth to wear their like jerseys or like sportswear. Can you please elaborate on that?
Okay, my school, for example, Castlemont, is being sponsored by they're being sponsored by Adidas, and on every sports jersey that they wear, they have to have an Adidas logo on there. That alone is, like I said, a corporation telling the school that if they do not have their logo on these kind of things, that they're not going to get these same resources, and obviously, a lot of times, they're like not going to get them at all.
Don't we already do that in the status quo? I mean, we all wear polos, Adidas, Nike jerseys, and all these nice fancy clothing from designers. So we already do this, don't we?
Could you state your question though?
Don't we already wear and actually we already represent logos from major corporations, don't we?
Some do and some don't.
Some do and some don't.
Some do and some don't.
I know.
I'm sorry. I think he's upset.
Is this on? Hey. This is just a reminder, we are going to have an audience question section, and now is the time-ish to start lining up right here. So if you have a question, please do be bold, be brave, come up here. They will love it. They ask you not to hold any bars, not to bar any holds. That's what it is. But rather to hit them with what you got. So one more round of applause. They're going to do the rebuttal speeches and then the audience questions. So come on up.
Your turn. Zakia.
Dun, 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 dun. Break a leg.
Just smile. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Zakia Moore and I attend Skyline High School. I'm currently a freshman. Our plan is that community schools should partner with large corporations to increase their resources. With our plans, with this plan, it can improve students' academic performance as well as helping them with their social needs and health problems. With this plan, we are thinking of students beyond the bell. In the status quo, schools aren't partnered with large corporations as well as they could be, therefore not receiving as many resources as they could be at this very moment. As my partner has been stressing throughout this entire debate, schools are facing budget cuts, as in, teachers are facing pay cuts, some are even being fired, and we are losing vital programs that help us today that are being disbanded from all students right now. We're losing programs like music programs. We're about to lose debate if we don't fund it properly and give it the proper attention that it rightfully deserves and needs. And Skyline has lost almost all of its counselors due to budget cuts. Therefore, we need to be taking this plan into account because we're losing money. And the negative keeps saying that large corporations will try to manipulate these public schools, but they have the best interest for our students and for our schools. Actually, all we actually need to give back once we partner with large corporations is to give back a thank you note from all the students who are using the resources they provide for. Secondly, corporations aren't even obligated to take money from these schools, and they can't. Corporations have no access to the school's money, and exploitation is simply illogical. large corporations are getting free advertising and marketing when they partner with these schools. In this case, there is a such bad thing as bad publicity for these large corporations. Why would they take advantage of these schools? Why would they try to take control if it's just making them lose their business and publicity for their business? It's ruining them. What type of sense does that actually make for them? And the companies are using their time, money, and willpower to give back to these schools who haven't had the resources that they rightfully deserve. And schools 100% have the best interests for the students in the schools. And in conclusion, students are given counselors, resources, programs, and so much more if we partner with these large corporations. We need to carry on with this plan because it is something that we must do. We believe that students who don't receive the full resources in their schools that they rightfully deserve still deserve a chance for a better education, regardless of the circumstances or their placement in a struggling community. There are too many things students are missing out on because of these budget cuts we've been facing. And in the long run, isn't it all about the students? Schools are not a broken glass. They are simply a broken nail that can grow and thrive if we give it the proper attention that it needs and give them the funding that it deserves and treat it right. So therefore, we should go with this plan because it is something that we must do. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Elisa Saavedra. I attend Skyline High School, and I will continue to argue the negative side of this debate. What both the school officials and my colleagues fail to acknowledge is that this plan will do more harm to students than good. While it is true that if students got more resources, they would have more opportunities. But bringing major corporations into this scenario is not the correct way to fix the problem of funding. It may be nice to think that major corporations want to just give money and resources to schools, but being realistic, the main reason why these corporations are so big is because they work their way to the top. And these corporations remain at the top because they have money and they didn't give it away for free. So the reality of these partnerships is that corporations will not just give money or resources away for free. The reimbursement for the resources will come at the expense of the student's education. As my colleague Precious stated earlier, that corporations give money acting as sponsors for these individual schools, the motive will come to represent the mindset of advertise my brand rather than get an education. While my colleagues on the affirmative try to justify this mindset by stating that good publicity and media attention that these corporations will receive from the partnerships will be the corporation's incentive for doing this, so they'll just want to do it because they'll get their media attention, and that's good. But the reality of this situation is that if just one school doesn't approve of the advertise my brand mindset, then that school is not going to get the money or resources. Although my colleagues would like to believe that these partnerships will be all about giving pencils or giving books, but that's not the case. The majority of these corporations will not be nonprofit. They will be large, major corporations that will only give so much charity. During CrossX, I asked my colleague Chris if every school would 100% be guaranteed a partnership. He stated yes. However, I had a chance of asking Ms. Hayen Kim of the Emory School District if every single school would be guaranteed a partnership, and she stated no. So the fact is that not every single school in every single district across America is promised or guaranteed a partnership. So these resources will inevitably be unequally divided, and the unsponsored schools will not have the money or resources needed to compete with the newly sponsored community schools, meaning that some schools will still be in the same situation that they're in now, and because one student's education cannot be weighed over another student's education, this whole plan regarding partnerships defines academic inequality and should not be advocated for. Also, because as my colleague Precious stated earlier, most CEOs and heads of these corporations will not just give money to any school. They'll want to give money to the schools that they used to attend or that are pretty enough to advertise their brand. Another factor that comes into play in this scenario is that who really benefits from the money or resources given. For example, will resources only go to the regular placement classes, AP classes, special ed classes, or will it be used solely for administrative purposes? My colleagues Chris and Zakia do not verify and do not guarantee the resources reaching everyone. Also, embezzlement can play a big part in this situation. As much as we'd like to think that fraud does not happen in situations regarding youth or education, it does. For example, at my school, Skyline, in Oakland, our treasurer, Joey, he was a nice guy, but he stole from the school. He stole school funds. He got hired back. Well, he was fired, hired back, stole again, then left again. So this shows that even with the small funds that the schools get now, dishonesty and greed are still an active part of reality and will grow with these corporate partnerships. Also, to define community schools are once again schools that are accountable to the community. Corporations are not. Corporations have no ties to the community, and they have no obligation to help. What my colleagues are advocating for will take steps back from the dream that was stated before that Miss Joy Dreyfus wanted, and that she had for community schools. And that is not what we want or we need for our youth or for our education. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? Oh, she got a question.
I am being told that we are short on time a little bit. Now, I so much appreciate the people in this audience who prepared questions. I would love to hear your voice, and I hope that after this, you can engage the young people and talk to them and make sure, and again, bar no holds. I got it right this time. Bar no holds and do kind of get a sense for the way that these young people are grappling authentically with these issues. These young people are not the young people who are already on pathways to success. We do not recruit the folks that have that kind of stereotypical debate team feel, that are already, wearing pocket protectors and whatnot. We deal with the young people who have voices that are not expressed in traditional classrooms. So I do want to invite you to give one more round of applause to these young people before. Now, they are going to give closing statements now, and I'm going to encourage them to cut them just a little bit shorter than before. Debaters are used to being thrown kind of curveballs here and there and to being forced to improvise. And so, without further ado, give it up for the affirmative team. Who are just a little bit shorter than I.
All right, tall guy. Who are just a little bit shorter.
All right, then. All right. The negative has presented really good arguments on why not to do the plan. But they still do not solve for just one thing, and that's the budget cuts. We are facing tremendous budget cuts, and we're going to face even bigger ones in the future. Our education as youth are in the line. How can they, the government themselves, take away the most prized thing in the youth or in any person's life, and that is their knowledge, their education? The negative says that investment will happen. Okay, I get it, but that's the school's fault. The school should fix that problem if Joey was hired twice. Okay? Also, going on to the whole advertisement thing, we right now wear huge designer products, Polos, Nike, Adidas. They're just trying to make an excuse of why this plan should not pass. The affirmative right now is saying, do this plan to actually educate the youth. We're not neglecting no one from any kind of resources. The Green Academy has its great resources, but we got bottled. We got the Bay Area Urban Debate League to help us in our education. We are learning to be policy makers. We're learning to strive and actually have a voice and express ourselves the way we want to. We should not actually give up on that. We should actually be able to expand these partnerships to more schools. But the fact that we have inequality in schools right now is because this plan has not passed. This plan has to pass in order for inequality to actually be solved. Therefore, this plan is a good thing, and we are actually solving for education as a whole, and we're not leaving no one behind.
And yeah, I just want to continue on with my partner was saying. Large corporations are something that's going to help all the students right now. So this is something that we must do right now. And yes, certain schools are going to be prioritized, but the government assigns specific jobs to people who specifically get it's their job to know which schools need the most help right now. They have jobs for that type of stuff, and there's not going to be any type of equality because they divide the resources among the schools. They know which schools need this certain amount of resources, so we're not going to have this whole educational inequality. We don't need to be worrying about that right now. And they say to be realistic, but why can't a good change be realistic in our eyes? Why can't we give schools bigger opportunities, give students something to actually believe in? And the negative can't reject this idea. It's, as my partner was saying about the Green Academies and the Education Academy already being sponsored with these partnerships. They've already been seen to work. So if this can work, why don't we try to actually do it? Why don't we do something about it if we know it can work? If this is actually going to help us. And, sorry. Schools have, wait, what else was I going to say? Yeah, so basically, a community school that invests itself in a community to get resources and to help the schools. And this is a way for us to get resources. So if we have these partnerships, it's definitely going to help all students in the long run because it's all about the students and we need to be taking them into account and not worrying about small issues that aren't even a big deal at the moment. So yeah, we should partner with large corporations. And thank you for listening to us.
Okay. The negative, again, stressing our point is that partnering with these large corporations is, again, like I said, and my partner, it's not benefiting every person within these schools. They're saying that, okay, yes, it benefits the students, but the fact of the matter is, regardless of if you're not funding the teachers correctly, then here we go again, we have teachers on strike, teachers not wanting to work anymore, and then that's not benefiting the students because they have various different substitutes in every day, so they can't really stick to one subject. And going off of what the affirmative is arguing with Skyline and the Green Academy is only really, it's excluding several students because it only benefits students that's in the Green Academy, not the other students that's not there. And going with the Bay Area Urban Debate League, that's not guaranteed to help every student either because of the fact that it's not that every student within these schools can instantly be that's what they want to do and join. Everyone can't commit to debate. So that in itself is a corporation that's not helping everyone at the moment. Also, what the negative is pushing for is not just going for the benefiting the students. Because of the fact that these large partnerships with corporations are, like I stated before, exploiting these students and their families. Like I said, they're putting, imagine your kid that's their Adidas or their Gatorade or something, that's the new poster child for their corporation. It's not really benefiting them because of the fact that the corporations are only in it for the money.
What my colleague Precious and I cannot stress enough is that corporations getting involved with schools, it's not the way to go about solving the issues of funding. We recognize completely that there are issues with funding. We agree with the affirmative to an extent on that. But we're saying that partner with corporations for a community school that should be involved with the community and the students, with them in mind, it's not the way to go about solving this issue. As we stated before, there's no 100% guarantee that every single student or every single community school in America will get a partnership or benefit from a partnership. And as we've stated before also, this type of funding and resource inequality that my colleagues are advocating for is by far one of the main examples of academic inequality. And as educators and people who care about education, you cannot promote this advocacy. Like, it's in your job, you can't do it. We may not have an alternative plan, but we are stopping the corruption that is being advocated for with the plan to partner with major corporations. And the truth is here that in this room, you all, or half of you or some of you, may be against or in disbelief of what myself and my colleague Precious arguments are and have to say, because everyone believes that everyone knows that when students get resources, they will succeed. And if we offend anyone by that, we mean no disrespect, but from the point of view of youth and as students, we're trying to urge you to understand that partnering with these corporations will do more harm to us and our education than good. And it's not the way to solve the funding problems or to help us. We would like to thank you for listening to us, and don't partner with community schools. Corporations.
Don't partner with large corporations. You're good.
All right.
Oh, you guys want to shake our hands now?
No.
They suck, dude.
So let's have another round of applause for Elisa, Precious, Zakia, and Christopher. Thank you so much. And a special round of applause for Dimitri Seals, their director, modest as he is. Thank you so much. So now, in true community partnership fashion, we have a twist. And the twist is that we are about to have an exquisite presentation from one of our key partners in the San Francisco Bay Area. The folks from the Link Learning Pathways in West Contra Costa Unified School District and the Community Engagement Manager from Chevron Products Company are going to join us and share about their work in West Contra Costa Unified School District at Helms Middle School. And so it is my pleasure to introduce a colleague, Mike Aronian, who is the coordinator for the Link Learning Pathways. Mike, come on up. Andrea Bailey from Chevron, who is the Community Engagement Manager from Chevron Products Company. And as they make their way up, I'm going to take a moment to remind all of us that we come here without a formal mandate. We come here without a formal funding stream. We come here, as we opened earlier, with a moral imperative for these community school partnerships, because it's no longer left up just to the schools on their shoulders to solve these issues. So partners, please join us. Michael, Andrea, and their presentation. Thank you. Andrea. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Michael.
Good evening, everyone. Can I lift this up some? I'm tall. As she mentioned, my name's Andrea Bailey. I'm a Community Engagement Manager at Chevron Richmond. And it's really an honor to stand here before you tonight to celebrate one of my favorite topics, and that's the success of our schools and our students. It gives me great pride, and it's one of my favorite topics to discuss. I take learning, equitable education, and quality education very seriously, personally and professionally. So it gives me really pride to stand here before you. As a matter of fact, that's really how all this got started. I was at a meeting one day at our corporate office in San Ramon and overheard a conversation from our corporate marketing team about a new Chevron We Agree ad campaign that was going to feature a child actor around how cool science was. And I thought, wow, here we have engineering academies at Helms Middle School and Richmond High School in West Contra Costa County. Why can't we use one of our science students? How cool would that be? So I asked them, of course, thinking that would never happen. They agreed. They said yes. So I then thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm going to call my partner in crime, Mike Aronian, who's the coordinator of Linked Learning for the school district, for his help. Because we had 2 weeks, I think, to put together open casting calls at Helms Middle School and Richmond High School to select what would be 5 students that would go to LA with their families to audition professionally for this Chevron We Agree ad. It was really, it was something, it got so much traction, we never expected the outcome. The community loved it, and once the commercial was done and started airing, Congressman George Miller actually came to Helms School to visit the Engineering Academy and to meet the star of the commercial in person and his other 4 students that went along with him. So I don't want to steal all the glory. I'm going to let Mike Aronian finish the rest because he actually accompanied the students to LA for their auditions. So I'd like to welcome and introduce Mike Aronian.
Thank you, Andrea. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to add to my partner in crime, Andrea. We work together on a weekly basis, sometimes many more times during a given day. As Andrea alluded to, there was a selection process where kids from Richmond and kids from Helms were able to interview. But it was exclusively our engineering academies at Richmond High School and at Helms Middle School, which was my first teaching assignment, by the way, just a few years ago. The kids were treated like absolute VIPs, thank you, Chevron, and the kids performed beautifully. They were picked up in a limo at Helms Middle School. This is, mind you, in San Pablo, California, a limousine. One of those big ones. We all went to Oakland Airport, and we flew to Los Angeles. Many students, for the first time, they had been to the airport and on an airplane. Nice experience. We stayed at the Fairmont Hotel in Santa Monica. I believe that's where the president has stayed in the past. So I was the one that got to go. Pretty fun. 5 kids, 5 family members. It was an absolute pleasure. As Mr. DeLeon, their principal, would expect, our kids were well-mannered, they were fearless, and they were very humble. And the great thing is our celebrity's here tonight, and Andrea is going to share a little bit more about that. And Kaizea, and he did a great job, as you'll see soon. Thank you.
It was really a pleasure, thank you, Mike, to work with these 5 students. And when I first saw the commercial, I think I cried probably the first 20 times I saw it, because it was really moving and touching. And what was really moving and touching about it was that it was one of our students from Richmond, a district that's often not feels like a stepchild. Chevron, as I mentioned, we really support the school district, and in the last 3 years, we've given over $15 million to STEM education in the Bay Area and $100 million throughout the United States. We support the school district initiatives. We've built the robotics lab there. We support their robotics program. We support the engineering academies and a lot of other programs that we have in the school district. And we don't only want to be a check writer, we get involved. We have our employees there mentoring, tutoring in the schools every day, on the weekends, and we really take pride in that. And we're really proud to support the district. And I'm especially proud, in conjunction with Mike, to announce the video and show you the results of the video. So if we can roll it.
Anything that I find, I build it.
I like to sing, being creative.
I got kind of into books.
I'm good at drawing. I like designing stuff.
math is one of my favorite subjects.
Graphing is pretty cool.
Like to figure out what the density of something is.
Math is challenging, and that's what motivates me.
I always like science because it just teaches you how things work.
I like the experiments and all about the human body.
Atoms, I like how you can't see them, but they're there and they build everything.
Last year I got to dissect a frog. I want to work for Mac.
Joining the Navy SEAL.
I want to be an architect.
Play football.
Electrical engineering, computer science.
Paleontologist.
A civil engineer.
Radiologist.
A soccer player.
I want to become a lawyer.
I either want to be a chemist or a chef.
I definitely want to be someone.
Jose Luis Gutierrez.
Sanjam Singh.
Nixon Mazariegos. Marisol Reyes.
Kaiser Jacariville Clark.
Alex Uribe. Simon Arqueta.
This is an RC robotic claw.
A high school science teacher made me what I am today.
Our science teacher helped us build it.
Now I'm a geologist at Chevron, and I get to help science teachers.
It has 4 servo motors and a wireless microcontroller.
Over the last 3 years, we've put nearly $100 million into American education. That's thousands of kids learning to love science.
Isn't that cool?
That's pretty cool.
And without further ado, Kaiser Clark.
Hi, my name is Kaiser Clark, and I have a speech to say. 3 years ago, when I started Helms Middle School in San Pablo, I was struggling in school. I had recently lost my father to violence. My grades were low, and I was getting in trouble a lot. My mom helped me out. She set up meetings with the school, and things started changing. I got extra tutoring, started participating in the after-school program, doing things like bike repair, and was involved in community activities at the Boys and Girls Club. And my relationship with teachers improved in 8th grade. I entered the engineering house at Helms and ended up starring in a commercial called Science is Cool. That felt like a big success to me. Now I'm hoping to become a mechanical engineer and invent things to improve our lives.
We're really proud of Kaiser. I'm the school psychologist at Helms, and I feel really lucky to be at a community school. And I feel like he's one example of a child that becomes resilient when everybody in the community works together. So as a former educator, instead of talking a lot, I wanted to play a game to kind of represent how our community school and all the agencies work together to support kids. So we've got the student, the principal, the mother, our director of community schools, and our community agencies. And I'm going to have them all stand and throw a ball around in a circle. If you guys can stand in a circle. So a perfect community school has everybody working together on the same page and communicating. Other schools I've worked at, I think it often looks like people turning their back on one another and just throwing the ball, which represents the child. But here we have everything coordinated. And so what's happening often is that kids have all these services, but then we get some risk factors in our lives and stressors, like you might lose a family member. So I'm going to ask people to step back a little bit. Or you might lose your home. And as this happens for a child, even though we have these agencies working together, we have to keep coordinating services. If we drop the ball, then we're having kids do things like lower their grades or get into trouble in school and things like that. So we have to work together to promote resiliency. And so to promote resiliency in a community school like ours, we work on building caring relationships. So you guys can step closer together for kids. And you're building high expectations for all children and creating meaningful participation, like the project that Kaizea did. We give kids opportunities to contribute meaningfully to their community. So ideally, we've got a situation where everybody's on the same page supporting all of our students. Okay, thank you.
Let's give these folks one more round of applause. You know, it obviously is not lost on all of you that we had this conversation about corporate partnerships. And corporate partnerships can work. And that's what we see in this example. We need more of them. We need them to be deeper to get our work done and to help all kids. That sure was the message that I heard from our Urban Debate League. And I think it's the message that Chevron is sending in terms of its commitment in San Pablo. So thank you very much. Just a couple of quick things for tomorrow. First, if you're going on a site visit, please meet in the atrium on the second floor. You should have tickets and know what the times are. If you're not sure, our folks will be standing at the registration desk. Secondly, for the young people in the room, we've had a whole track of youth activities. Please sign up so that we can have lots of participation. We've got lots of opportunities. There's a mural project. There'll be college visits and other activities. Third, we'll be screening tomorrow night. I think it's in this room. Is that right, Mame? Here? Okay. We're going to be screening a movie called First Generation, which is the story of three young people trying to make it through college and be the first in their families to be college graduates. I suspect that's true of many of us in this room. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to listen and learn and see this story, which I hope you will bring to other places. We're honored that the filmmakers asked us to show it. We know there's many of other things in San Francisco that you might choose to do, but we hope you'll take time. It's about an hour and a half. There'll be a discussion with the filmmaker if you like, and that will start at 6:30. Tomorrow morning, we start early. We work people hard. Community and school have to work all the time. We'll be at 8:30 in the morning, and the focus will be on getting it right early, getting the early childhood and community schools connections right. There will be a light breakfast here in the morning, so please come and join us. And keep in mind that there's one more app on that phone that I showed you earlier. And that's the gears that make all those apps work. And you, my friends, are the gears that make all those apps work for young people. Thank you very much. I think we're off to a great start. With your help, we'll do even better tomorrow. Thanks very much. Good night.